guys, welcome to my channel. My name is ReadingBear and I hope you are ready for some more stories. And today, we'll take a look at some new idontworkherelady content. If you enjoyed my content, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and post some bear emojis in the comment. And now, let's dive right into the stories.
The first story is titled Homophobia Doesn't Pay the Bills. Decades ago, I was fresh out of the military, and fresh out of the closet. I had landed a great first job as a software developer with a very small company. Nobody knew about my private life at work, because well, it's private. The office admin developed a crush on me, and I told her that I was gay and had a boyfriend. She thought it was a terribly funny joke on her that she didn't pick up on me being gay. So, she told it as a story on herself around the office. Our VP was a homophobic woman. Basically, she didn't like anybody who wasn't white, male, right-wing and Christian. Since the office gossip was she was sleeping with the owner, and both were married to other people, her version of Christianity had a few loopholes in it. I had spent most of the day helping a sales guy set up a database on his computer to track customers. Yeah, DBA's 3. Totally easy to write an app over the phone. She calls me into her office at 5 p.m., tells me there's gossip about me and that she can't have me working there anymore. My team was furious with her. We were a tight development team and this really blew up quickly. I quietly said goodbye, packed up my stuff and drove home to tell my boyfriend I was unemployed for the first time in my life. I started a contract job that paid twice what I had been making. After 2 months, my former VP calls me and asks if I would work on the software project, freelance. She offered my former rate, to which I said no. I told her $50 an hour, which was like 5 times my salary. She said no. A week later she calls back and says, "We really need you on this." I asked her, "Are you saying you can't finish this without me?" "Yes," she replied. I said, "You should have thought of that before you fired me for being gay." Within a month, the whole software project was shut down. But, my former teammates started their own company and contracted the work from her at 5 times their previous salary. Her bigotry cost her inexpensive and reliable employees, rattled the entire office at the budget hit and made her look like a fool. The next story is titled I Thought You Didn't Need Me Anymore? Many years ago, I was still in college after coming out of the USMC, and worked for a small commercial remodeling company as a site supervisor. Part of my duties was a daily report on manpower, production, daily events, etc. I've always been one to go one step further and my reports, according to the production manager, didn't need to be so detailed. Just the nuts and bolts. Not the whole assembly, he'd say. Well, I kept a detailed log, and in it I kept a description of every call, email, conversation and change order, right down to material, hours, and manpower. This was more for my reference than it was to document for my job. I used my own laptop on my projects, and everything in it belonged to me, not the company. Throughout this project, there were many change orders that added around $90,000 to the project. Change orders were presented to and signed by the client and turned in. We still finished on time with the original schedule. I forgot to mention that this was an educational facility and all work had to be performed from 6 p.m. to 4 a.m., so there was zero office support because everyone else was at home sleeping for most of it, so I was on my own and this caused a rift between myself and the grossly incompetent PM. I've never been quiet about grievances. At the end of this project, I was told that I wouldn't be needed any longer, given my final paycheck and sent on my way. Roughly 3 months later, I get a call from the PM asking if I had notes or more documentation on the change orders from that project and I confirmed that I did. He asked me if I could find time to sit in a meeting with him, the owner of the company and members of the Board of Regents to verify the change orders, because they were balking at the added charges. He offered my previous pay scale, $27 an hour, to do this, to which I balked and countered with double including my drive time to and from, plus gas. He balked. He proceeded to scream into the phone and I hung up. He called back and began screaming again and I simply said, triple, and hung up. He called back again and told me that he knew who I was working for and would make sure he got me fired. I was doing piecework framing and drywall on my own. I worked for me. LSS, the owner called and talked to me. We agreed on a fair price and that the PM wouldn't be involved whatsoever with the meeting. I didn't want to see him or hear him. He agreed, told me the date of the meeting, and agreed to send over a contract, but never did. I didn't answer any of the many calls that came in on the day of the meeting. Still don't know if they worked it out, but I know that PM left shortly after and the owner is a superintendent for one of our competitors. The next story is titled Neighbor Blocks My Car to Get Me to Move My Car? The person renting the house across the street from mine has been knocking on my door for weeks now, demanding that we move our car whenever it's parked in front of her house. We have 2 cars and a 1-car garage and driveway. One of our cars is electric and has to be parked in the garage so it can charge. Since it's almost free, and super fun, to drive, we generally drive that one, which means our other car can't be parked in the driveway, or our EV can't get out. Now, we live on a corner, so we actually have tons of space to park at the side of our house, enough for 2 cars without blocking the community mailboxes. However, one of our neighbors loves to park their big-ass SUV in the middle of that space, making it impossible for us to park there. Guess who owns the SUV? So today, we had a friend over for dinner. He just split up with his GF, so we wanted to keep him company. Our car was parked in front of entitled neighbor's house, so he parked in our driveway. A few minutes later, N bangs on our door and rings the doorbell repeatedly. My wife was cooking and I was outside in the backyard, so our friend answers the door. N tells him to move our car. He's a nice guy, so he gets the key from my wife and goes to move the car, but has nowhere to move it to because the SUV is blocking both spaces next to our house. He learns from my wife that the SUV belongs to N, and asks her to move it so he can park behind it. She claims she doesn't have the keys. I was blissfully unaware of any of this until, from my backyard, I hear my wife cussing at someone out front. I come around from the backyard to find N standing behind my friend's car, blocking him from pulling out of our driveway. At this point, I didn't know why my friend was sitting in his car, idling. My wife storms inside to let me deal with this, since I'm pretty good at staying calm after years of working in retail and tech support. I approach the woman and ask what she's doing. It goes like this. Me. What are you doing? N. Shouting. I want you to move your car. Me. Which car? N. That one. It's in front of my house. Me. So why are you blocking my driveway? N. I want you to get the keys from that guy, points to my friend in his car, and move your car. I step over to my friend, who, seething, explains that he's trying to move his car so he can park my car in the driveway. I step back over to N. Note that N is on the sidewalk portion of my driveway. Me. He's trying to move so he can move our car here. Why are you blocking him? N. I want you to move your car. I've been knocking on your door for weeks telling you not to park there. Move your car. Realizing that N is insane, I decide to cut to the chase. Me. It's street parking, we can park there. We don't have to move our car. N. I don't care. Your wife said the same thing. Me. Now also yelling, and she's right. Are you stupid? He's trying to move his car so he can do what you want, and you're illegally blocking him in. At this point, another woman, N's friend or roommate, approaches and shouts at me. ENF. You need to back off. Me. What? ENF. You're too close. Social distance, a-hole. Note that ENF and I are wearing masks. N is not. I'm also standing on my property. I decide to ignore ENF because I only want to deal with one crazy person right now. Me. No longer yelling, you need to move. It's illegal to block someone's driveway. N. I'm on the sidewalk, mother ducker. I can stay here all day. Me. Oh, my God, you're an idiot. N. Fine, I'm an idiot, but I'm not moving. ENF. What are you gonna do, attack us? I continue to ignore her. Me. I'm gonna call the cops. I turn away and pull out my phone to go inside and call the police. As I'm walking away, N shouts, good. Call the cops, they'll ticket your car. While I'm on the phone with the police, N moves and my friend, a far nicer person than me, parks up the street and moves our car to our driveway. And then parks a pickup truck where our car was. I tell the dispatcher that the problem's resolved, but she says an officer is going to come anyway. The cop shows up, and I tell him what happened. Fortunately, our next-door neighbor does nothing but sit in his driveway all day, and saw and heard the whole thing. The cop asks him, and my neighbor corroborates my story. Cop then goes and knocks on N's door, where he gives her a lecture about public parking that lasts around 20 minutes. Before he leaves, the cop knocks on my door to tell me what he told N, during which I learn that the SUV parked next to my house, blocking both spaces, belongs to N. I also learned, to my great relief, that the reason N wanted to park there is that she's moving out soon. Now for the kicker. Throughout all this, N had a spot in her 2-car driveway open. As far as I can tell, she just didn't want our car in front of her house, even though she apparently acknowledges that it's fine to park her SUV in front of my house. She just thinks she owns all parking in the neighborhood, I guess? The next story is titled Best Buy Mishap. This was around 2019 pre-COVID. I was working at a Midwestern grocery store at the time in the deli section. We wore black coats, black pants, and a black hat. It's important to mention that my uniform in particular was extremely dirty and the stains were nearly impossible to get out. I was in the process of helping my coworker build his first PC. He wanted me to help him pick out some parts and had asked me if I wanted to go to Best Buy with him after work. I agreed and we hit up Best Buy after we get off around 6 p.m. We're in the section with all the GPUs and processors trying to pick out which cooling system he wants when out of the corner of my eye I see an older gentleman in all blue start approaching me. He asks me where he can find something, can't remember what, and I kinda ignored him since it didn't really process that he was speaking to me. He asks again, and I respond with, "I don't know." "What do you mean you don't know?" "Sir, I don't work here." "I have absolutely no idea how you got that impression since I'm covered in stains and don't even have blue on." He looks at me and my coworker for a few seconds and goes, "You don't?" "Sorry about that, it looked like you did." I was dumbfounded lol. My coworker and I were laughing for a good 10 minutes about it. The next story is titled Just a Creepy Dude. This happened a long time ago but it is funny so I thought I would share. I was waiting at a traffic light one day when some young woman hopped right into the backseat of my car. She tells me where she wants to go and then proceeds to just blather on talking a mile a minute. The place was not far, just a couple blocks, and frankly she was as cute as could be. One of those personalities where you just know in a hot minute, she's a fun person. So, I decide, what the heck, and I drive. I swear I don't think she stopped to take a breath the whole way there. I am not even sure what she was talking about, but it was fun listening. As we got close, I even slowed down some so I could be sure to hear her whole story. I stopped. As she got out, she asked me how much it was. I smiled and said, "Oh, I'm not an Uber, I'm just some creepy dude whose car you jumped into." Suddenly, she had nothing to say. Her face turned as red as her hair. I said, "Have a nice day," and drove off. The next story is titled I Am Not a Mac and Cheese Restaurant. So a local mac and cheese restaurant, pub either used to have my current cell number or has their current number typoed somewhere online. I've received 2 calls in 10 days asking, "Is this restaurant name?" Today when I said, "No, this is my personal number," the lady goes, "Well, are you the owner?" I told her no and that if you Google the restaurant name you can find the number. She proceeds to tell me that it's listed as the downtown location number. IDK where because I looked it up, still not close to my number. If it becomes more frequent, people get rude, or if someone wakes up my 4-month-old calling me about this place, I'm gonna lose my goodwill and patience. I've already tried calling the restaurant last time to see if we can get this fixed, but I think I just confused the poor person working their front of house and phone line. The next story is titled I Don't Work for You, and I Don't Take Orders from You Anymore. The year was 2016. I had worked as a stalker for a craft store for over a year. But when my dad retired, we were moving out of state. I handed in my 2-week notice, slating the 18th of the month, a Wednesday, as my last day of work. I double-check my schedule to make sure I'm taken off, and I see that I'm scheduled until the 20th, that Friday. Me. Hey, store manager. I can't work the last 2 days. The 18th is my last day. Store manager. Oh, really? I thought you could work a few days after that. Me. No, I'm moving out of state. We're packing up our last bit of stuff and leaving. It even says on my notice that the 18th is the last day I can possibly work. Store manager. Oh, okay. I'll fix the schedule. Mildly irritating to have to argue my case, but the store manager has always been a bit spacey and disconnected to reality and time, so I chalk it up to him having a derp moment and let it go. I work my last few days, get hugs from the coworkers I'm friendly with, say goodbye to all the staff, and go home for the final time. Thursday, the 19th, I get a call on my cell phone from the craft store's number. Floor manager. My name. Where are you? Me. Home, packing the last of my stuff. The 18th was my last day. I told store manager to take me off the schedule. Floor manager. Well, I put you back on there myself. We need you for a few more days. You're supposed to be here now. Oh, so it was floor manager's fault. She and I had butted heads often, to the point I reported her to corporate for trying to make me work off the clock. Me, irritated. Well, I'm not available. I'm leaving the state. You had 2 weeks to rearrange the schedule to prepare for this. Floor manager. The store does not arrange itself to your schedule. This is a job, and you need to work when needed. Me. Not anymore. I don't work for the store anymore. Store manager. Even gave me my last paycheck. Floor manager. You don't get your paycheck until Friday, so you can knock off the lying. Get in here, and I'll think about not writing you up for this. I was silent for about a heartbeat, stunned by the sheer idiocy. Then I burst out laughing. Loudly. And at length. The floor manager tried to yell at me, but I was laughing so hard that I couldn't stop to hear anything she said, so just laughed over her. When I caught my breath again, I said into the seething silence. Me. I quit on Wednesday. I don't take orders from you anymore. Goodbye. I hung up on her, and let the further calls go straight to voicemail. The next story is titled A Guy Mistook Me for Staff, and it left me with a happy memory. This happened about 15 years ago, but I still think about it often and it makes me smile. I was casually browsing the aisles of a local auto parts store while on my day off. I was working in hospo at the time, so had a day off in the middle of the week. I happened to be wearing a red polo shirt. The uniform of the staff was a red polo shirt with a small logo on the pocket. A guy approached me and asked me if I could tell him where the floor jacks were. I had just been looking at the jacks moments before, so I told him which aisle they were in and that they were about halfway along on the bottom shelf, then continued my shopping. As I was approaching the counter, I saw the same guy leaving with his new floor jack. By this point I thought I might as well just roll with it, so I said, "Thanks mate, enjoy the rest of your day." He said thanks and left the store. The whole interaction made my day, and still gives me a smile and a laugh now. The next story is titled That One Time Someone Thought I Worked in Retail While I Was Covered in Flour. Over the summer of 2021, I worked at a pizzeria on the beach. Next door was a clothing store. I was very close with the owner of said store and often spent my breaks there. By their air conditioning was unimpeded by the heat from the ovens and fryers. Now keep in mind, I was constantly covered in batter and flour and sauce, as well as wearing a shirt with the pizzeria name and logo on it. But every time I was in that store, I was always asked how much something was or where something was. Once I explained to them, I didn't work there, they were very understanding. But eventually I spent enough time in the store to learn how much everything was and where everything was located, so I ended up just telling them. They were very confused when I was unable to ring them up. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe to the channel and post some bear emojis in the comments.